And now we begin with Somalia, whose three-day national mourning period for victims of the terrorist attacks it suffered over the weekend is coming to an end. The attack is the attack on the Horn of African nation is the deadliest terrorist attack experienced in Somalia since Islamist militant group shabaab began carrying out attacks in the nation since 2007. The death toll from that Saturday bombing is now said to have risen to more than 320. Dozens are missing, hospitals are still running out of blood, and anger is growing. But there is also something else that is fueling anger amongst many. That is on social media. Many are not satisfied with the response to the events in Mogadishu, bringing to fore yet again the debate on world information flow imbalance on third world countries.
En effet, Jerry, et nous vous le disions déjà hier,
and like we reported yesterday, the debate has heated up these last days and denounced once again the apparent double standards of the international media, as well as selective empathy of the opinion of the basis of the place of the victims of the tragedies in the world. If many Somalis and African countries have criticized the fact that the hashtag Pray for Mogadishu has not become viral, many observers residing in the West have also shared some grievances. Khalad Beydoun, assistant professor of the University of Detroit, did not hesitate to compare the attack in Mogadishu to that of Manchester United in the United Kingdom, or rather Manchester in the United Kingdom.
Invicta Vis, toujours sur Twitter, s'est indigné.
And then in the same vein, Invicta was outraged on Twitter. More than 500 victims. The West is concerned of the victims carried out, of the attacks carried out by the people of color, except the victims of color.
Yes, Guled Ahmed is the head of Somaliland Human Rights Center. He joins us now from Agisa. Good morning. How would you gauge the aid response by the government so far?
I think they have been trying to do their best, but the capacity of the government is very limited, and I think they don't have a full preparation for attack of this kind. Therefore, although I think they have been doing their best, but they are not well equipped and enough prepared for good response.
Monsieur Ahmed, vous êtes défenseur
des droits. Human rights is what you fight for, and this tragedy cast a spotlight on Somalia. We have the U.S. visa ban that's taking away many rights, including study and work. How deep do you think this incident will go?
This incident, many civilian people were killed, and other more were injured, and property were destroyed. The war in Somalia has been going on in the expenses of the lives of the civilians. And that has been going on in impunity, in a total impunity. You don't see people who committed these atrocities brought to court. There are no local courts that are dealing with these matters. And the international community are not putting in place international system that can prosecute the people who are behind the crimes, the heinous crimes like this one. Therefore, what we are very concerned is the impunity in which Somalia has been enjoying. Somali militia leaders, whether it is the shabaab or those of the warlords previously or the government side, and sometimes accessions against the African nation. Therefore, we are very, very concerned in the impunity and the deaths of the civilian people.
Guled, what would you say is your assessment, or what would be your assessment of how the international media has so far covered these deadly attacks?
I'm really very sorry that the international media didn't give a good attention. Hundreds of people were killed and other more were injured. And it seems that, life is matter, whether they're in Somalia, where in many years the news was always about the war, but still the Somali people are human beings, and they have a right to be seen as that. Therefore, I don't see the same attention we're given as if the same incident may have happened somewhere in the West. Therefore, although I appreciate the news reports of some of the news outlets internationally, but the kind of attention and coverage given is not enough.
Mais Monsieur Ahmed, on peut se demander
There's been a paradox of sorts over the debate on how the media has covered the Mogadishu bombing, as if we want to have a cake and eat it. We don't want coverage of negative stories from Africa, yet we want extensive coverage of this terror attack. What do you think?
Est-ce que c'est pas paradoxal finalement?
Yes, I think I agree with you. It's a quite a part of it. But these kind of incidents are very serious, and it is not entirely a local matter. It is an international issue. It is a global matter. Terrorism is not an issue for Somalia. Al-Shabaab is not a national organization. It is international. It's looking to the global international system of a so-called war on terrorism. It is linked to the injustices that is happening. Therefore, how the world should fight terrorism, even in Somalia, how the people who committed this heinous crime should be prosecuted and brought to court in somewhere, either in Somalia or somewhere else. Therefore, I think I totally agree with you that it's not good to emphasize the negatives is happening in Africa. But a crime like this should be reported, not only because African people died, but what we as the international community, what can be done about the matter of Somalia, how Somalia should get a peace and security. People of Somalia could be saved from the heinous crimes committed by organizations like Shabaab, which are international by nature and linked to Al-Qaeda, a global organization.
Gulliad, you talk about Al-Shabaab, but no one has claimed responsibility yet for Saturday's bombings, even though the Al-Shabaab has been fingered in it. But with the rhetoric already putting blame on Al-Shabaab and casting a light also on perhaps on Islam, isn't this worrisome?
I think Al-Shabaab was behind this kind of this attack. It is the only organization in Somalia that has the capacity and the will to carry out suicide bombings. They haven't claimed it because so many civilian people were killed, and the people in Somalia, in the region of Horn of Africa and in Mogadishu were very angry, and for that reason they seem to be claiming it. But for many people it's quite obvious that Al-Shabaab is the one that seems to be behind this attack. I think this is not a matter of Islam or Islamic in that way. It is a violent extremist organization that has nothing to do with the pure the right interpretation of Islam. And the people they are killing are the Muslims. Therefore, for instance, when a country bans the Somalis entering their country as if Somalis and the Muslims are danger, the incident in Mogadishu shows that the majority of the victims of terrorist attacks are Muslims. The Muslims themselves, not other way around.